gonna be honest. I thought 6 months after quitting my 9-to-5 job, my burnout would be completely gone, but it's not. While some of my symptoms have definitely disappeared and dissipated, there are a few key ones that have stuck around, as well as some new ones that have popped up. Today, I'll be talking about my triggers that push me into my low periods, as well as some strategies that have helped to pull me back out whenever I'm in the burnout zone. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited to give you guys a 6-month burnout update since I left my 9-to-5 job. A lot has changed, but some stuff has definitely stayed the same. We're gonna start by just talking about the symptoms that I still have. As of today, 6.5 months later, I still deal with a lot of emotional exhaustion. This is something I definitely struggled with while I was in my job and while I was feeling extremely burnt out, but I still deal with it now. There's times during the month where I just overall have like zero bandwidth to handle anything. It's hard for me to talk to other people, it's hard for me to be there for other people, and it's hard for me to be there for myself. I don't have a lot of emotional energy to go around, and I don't have much patience either. Continuing down the mental health or emotional side, another one I've dealt with a lot is loneliness, detachment, and isolation. This is one that really comes in waves, and I found that there's like 1 or 2 days per month where I will feel extremely lonely and isolated. It's on these days that I end up partaking in my binge activities that are always things I've dealt with throughout my life when I'm going through hard times. Whenever I'm feeling stressed or anxious and I'm having this period of loneliness and feeling very isolated and detached from what's going on with me, I tend to oversleep and overeat. Oversleeping is probably the top one. I tend to allow myself to sleep in as late as I want. I snooze my alarm a million times. I'll start taking sleeping pills again at night to get a good night's sleep. Overeating is another one that I commonly deal with as well. I tend to eat huge portions when I do eat. The best thing, or the one that I indulge in the most, is when I combine oversleeping and overeating. I'll eat a super heavy meal and eat way more than I need to eat, make myself extremely stuffed to the point that I'm uncomfortable. Then I'll take a sleeping pill and get in bed. And from there, I'll scroll on my phone, watch videos till I pass out, and then sleep for up to 12 hours some days. The next one is low self-esteem and self-doubt. This is another one that tends to come around that same time of like the loneliness, detachment, and isolation. Again, it's usually like a few days per month where I just start to feel like there's no reason to do what I'm doing, that I'm going to fail, that there's no way this is going to work. I'm going to have to go back to my 9-to-5. I'm going to be stuck doing engineering forever. I basically get in this mindset where I feel as if nothing is going to work out for me and I'm just doomed to feel like this forever. The next one is physical exhaustion, specifically when I'm feeling overall tired in my body and I have less motivation and less productivity. This just comes and goes throughout the month. There's not like a specific just like 2 days where it happens. It's like the emotional exhaustion. It's like up and down the entire month. There's some days where I'm feeling extremely motivated, extremely productive. I get a ton of stuff done. And then I'll randomly have multiple days where I get not much done at all and I'm really, really physically tired the entire day. And then the last symptom, which is a newer one, is digestive problems and acid reflux. So I had a lot of digestive problems when I was in my 9-to-5 job and experiencing burnout, but it was specifically just nausea. I constantly felt really nauseous while I was at work, and anything to do with work, I would feel very nauseous. I would sometimes feel nauseous up until I fell asleep at night and then wake up still feeling nauseous. Like it went on for days on end. I never feel nauseous. I just have very bad acid reflux. You guys know what acid reflux is. I don't need to explain it, but that is something that is new, that has happened in the past few months. And it definitely comes and goes, but I know that it's a stress-induced thing. That's, again, it's a symptom of this burnout that I've been feeling. So those are all the symptoms that I still have. Next, let's go into the triggers. Because the thing is, when I was in my 9-to-5, there really wasn't any specific triggers to this burnout. I was feeling the burnout 24/7 because I was still in the thing that was causing the burnout. Now that I'm out of my job and I'm detached from the thing causing the burnout, symptoms tend to come when these specific things happen, these triggers. So the first one is when I don't have a good mix of time at home and time outside. I'm a very big homebody. I like to stay at home. Whenever I have to go out too much back and forth, especially when it involves having to go talk to people face to face, I tend to slip into a lot of these symptoms of burnout. For this trigger, it tends to leave me with the emotional exhaustion, the physical exhaustion, and the acid reflux. The next one, which is pretty much connected, is when I'm around groups of people. I've really realized over the past few years that I do not like being around groups of people, and this really does trigger my burnout. I think a big reason for this is my company as a whole was very extroverted, and they very much valued extroversion as a company. We hired a lot of extroverts. It was pretty clear that everyone was very social. They like to go out and do social things together for work, and I am not like that. Although I can come off as extremely extroverted, I'm very personable, you might say, I inside get very exhausted from having to have a lot of conversations with people, unless it's people I'm super close with. Even then, I tend to get very emotionally exhausted from the conversations, but if it's one-on-one and it's someone I'm comfortable with because I've known them for a while, it's way less. When it's a group of people with tons of people that I don't know, I feel very, very drained very quickly. The next one is just staring at my computer for too long, especially if I'm sitting at my desk here. Reason being, I think this desk is still somewhat associated in my head with my 9-to-5 job because this is where I sat and did all my work. I talked about this in a vlog a while back, but I did shift my desk. I moved it to this wall. It used to be on that wall so that I'm facing something different, and I completely changed the setup of it, made it work much better for me to record videos like I'm doing right now. I have my microphone, my lighting, all of that. So it doesn't give that feeling as much anymore. But if I'm sitting and staring at my computer for too long, I tend to go into those areas of exhaustion and both emotional and physical again. So the next 3 triggers tend to cause those 2 days a month where I feel the loneliness, the detachment, the isolation, as well as the low self-esteem and the self-doubt. The first trigger is a little bit weird. I feel like it makes me sound like I'm referencing an ex, but whenever I have reminders of my old job, I do get very triggered, and it does cause a lot of these feelings. It's like I suddenly feel like I'm back in my 9-to-5 and I feel stuck and like I'm faking who I am and I have to be someone I'm not. I know I've probably mentioned this in other videos, but because my company was so extroverted, a lot of times I felt very out of place and like I had to pretend to be someone I was not. I had to inflate a lot of my personality traits to fit in better and hide the ones that didn't seem to mesh as well with my company. And that caused me a lot of internal battles because I'm someone who really values being authentic and being honest. So it was really hard for me to go about my daily life and always be interacting with people and having to put on this front of who I was. So I think that's why this one is a trigger, because anytime I'm contacted from someone from my old job, not as much my friends, I did have some friends in my job that were my coworkers that were closer to my age. I'm more referencing people who are older. Anytime I'm contacted by them, as much as I appreciate them contacting me and I'm glad to, for them to check up on me, I have been contacted a few times by different people in my job. I've been contacted by my mentor. I've been contacted by a few different project managers I worked under. And every time they contact me, I'm grateful and it's nice to hear from them. But I get this extreme sense of anxiety. My chest starts to get tight again. And it usually ends up spiraling into those 1 or 2 days a month where I feel that low self-esteem, that isolation, that detachment from what I'm doing. At the end of the day, I think the reason for this is that I don't really know how to respond to them. Literally yesterday, I went to Starbucks, and there's a Starbucks right near where my office was. And I never go over to that Starbucks because it's not really close to my house or anything, but I stopped over there on the way to a cat sitting job. I remember telling myself, are you sure you want to go to the Starbucks? It's really close to the office. And I was like, no, the chances of running into someone are so low. From what I'd heard from one of my friends who still works there, people aren't going into the office every single day anyways, so I figured it would be fine. So I go over there, I park my car, I'm waiting outside for the app to tell me my drink's ready, and right as I'm about to get out of the car, one of my coworkers, he worked in the office that I interned in while I was in college, so I know him on a personal level. He's the one who actually called me when he found out I was leaving to basically talk to me and try to see if there's anything he could do to get me to stay, such as transfer me to a different office. He definitely would have recognized me. Long story short, him and someone else from my company were walking out of the Starbucks, and I literally panicked. I froze. Because I had just gotten out of the car too. I was literally walking up to the Starbucks, and I literally threw my hair over my face and like was like, don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me. And I like kind of veered to the right and then cut back into the Starbucks to get inside. They didn't, well, I don't think they saw me, but I didn't make eye contact, so we're good. But it made me so stressed out. But luckily, because I've realized that this one is a trigger for me, I told myself that it's okay. Again, this one was better because I didn't like actually talk to them. But my biggest worry is that I do have a conversation with one of my old coworkers and they say, so what are you doing now? I don't know why that gives me so much anxiety. Well, I do know why. And I'm planning on doing a whole video about that in the future as well. But the fact that I don't have a solid answer, I don't have a job title or a company I'm working for to tell someone, it makes me really, really anxious. It makes me feel super uncomfortable and like I'm going to be judged if I share what I'm actually doing. It's not like what I'm doing really makes a lot of sense, especially to people who are older than me or aren't in my generation or younger. It's still very hard for people to understand that you can make money online and that it is worth the time investment when you're not seeing results in terms of money yet. That definitely triggers it hardcore. And there has been days in the past where just a conversation with someone at my old job has caused me to go into a spiral for a few days of those feelings. I've had 2 times where someone from my job asked to have a conversation with me to basically try to figure out more of why I left because they were seeing other people feeling the same burnout issues that I was feeling. Those times have really triggered me because I've had to go into detail and describe things, which make it harder for me to, not feel like I'm in that position again and feel very stuck again. But the next trigger is negative comments on YouTube. This one sucks because it's something I want to be doing, but occasionally I do get negative comments on YouTube. I know I've talked about them before in the past. I've talked about a few of the comments and how I felt and how it's caused me to get stuck and go into these symptoms again. If any of you were following me over the Christmas period, you did see that I dropped off for a few weeks, almost a month actually, because I got a negative comment and it really put me into a spiral of self-doubt and low self-esteem. So the negative comments really do affect me as well. It's something I'm still trying to work through though. And then the last one is long periods of time where I'm doing lots and lots of work, but I don't really have much to show for it. So for example, say I do a 2-week period where I really, really focus on YouTube, but then all of the videos I make really kind of have like a lackluster response, or I feel like you guys aren't really enjoying them that much, or I don't get a lot of engagement, or YouTube decides to like not push my video out for some reason. Basically the same feeling as when I was in my 9-to-5 job and I would have weeks and weeks where I'm working on a specific project where I'm not really getting any feedback from the work I'm doing. So those are all my symptoms and all my triggers, but how am I working on actually healing? How am I working on minimizing those triggers so I don't have to consistently feel these symptoms? Well, number one, I'm continuing to do the same things I've been doing. I'm trying to focus on having a healthy sleep schedule. I'm trying to focus on having a healthy diet, consuming less caffeine, taking more of the supplements and vitamins that I've seen a positive response from my body, spending time doing activities that bring me joy, making sure I feel fulfilled in the work I'm doing on a daily basis, and having a plan for the future so I don't feel like I'm flailing and just swimming in the middle of the ocean. But besides all of that general stuff, there is a few specific things that I'm doing to really, really hone in on the issues and minimize those triggers and make each month much, much better. The first one is setting healthy boundaries. Now, this goes back to being around other people and getting emotionally exhausted. I've realized that I have to set boundaries around how much time I spend with people that aren't my husband, because I live with him and I feel very comfortable around him. He doesn't really emotionally exhaust me, but FaceTiming people, going out and hanging out with friends, having people over at my place, spending time at other people's houses. I've really started to focus on how much time is a good amount of time for me to be doing these activities, and then trying to set boundaries so that I don't overextend myself in those areas. The next one is just speaking positively about myself. I've been trying to say that I'm proud of myself more. I've been trying to talk about my accomplishments out loud, whether to myself, to you guys over on YouTube, or with my friends and family. Anytime that I can say positive things about myself or engage in a conversation where we're talking positively about things I've accomplished, that has really helped me to see the good that I'm doing, see how I'm helping others, and see how I'm helping myself. The next one, in the opposite way, is only discussing my stresses with people who are supporting me on this journey. I don't really have anyone in my life who is being unsupportive, but there are people who are much more supportive of what I'm doing right now. When I need advice about something, when I need to talk through something that I'm feeling stressed about, I'm making sure that I engage the people that I know believe in me and believe in what I'm doing, so that I'm encouraged to continue. I'm reminded by them of why I'm doing this in the first place, instead of being told, maybe you should reconsider this, maybe you should be doing something else then, maybe you should go back to your 9 to 5, you know? At the end of the day, the people who do say those things, of course, mean well, and they're really trying to help solve my problems when I'm talking about them. But I know for me that those decisions are not the right decisions for me. So I'm making sure that I only talk to the people that I can trust to give me good advice, give me sound advice that is backed by the values that I'm currently following in my life. That piece of advice, by the way, spreads across all aspects of your life. Do not ask people for advice that you don't see living out the life and the values that you believe in yourself. Just a quick side note. The next one is allowing myself to rest whenever I'm feeling physically or emotionally exhausted. Obviously, with your 9 to 5 job, you can't just say, okay, I'm tired, I'm gonna go rest now, or okay, I'm emotionally drained, I'm taking the day off. Sometimes you can, to an extent, if you have sick time or PTO. But now that the work I'm doing gives me a lot more flexibility, I'm really trying to let myself rest when I want to rest. Because at the end of the day, what I found is that a lot of the times when I would think I want to rest, if I actually let myself rest, I realized that I don't want to rest. And it really was more a motivation problem, or I just needed to get up and take a little break for a minute. So I'm just really indulging myself. Instead of telling myself, no, Paige, you can't do that, I'm saying, go ahead, rest. If you're tired, go lay down for a little bit. When I've done that, I found that I lay down for 15-20 minutes and then I'm motivated and ready to go, and I am way more productive the rest of the day anyways. The next one, which I've already touched on, is reminding myself why I'm doing this. But the way that I'm doing this is by referencing what I've been calling an affirmation book. So I haven't created a physical book in any way, but I have a folder on my computer desktop that is filled with screenshots of messages or comments from my community on here, as well as text messages from friends and family that have been really supportive of my journey. Basically, any language that someone else has said towards me or about me that is going to affirm why I'm doing this and help me feel secure in my decisions. I'm sure you guys have been around those people who want to make a decision about something and they flip-flop back and forth over and over again. And what I found with that is a lot of times the reason people flip-flop is because they forget why they made the hard decision in the first place. So what I try to do with this one is keep track of anything that's going to remind me of why I quit my job and why I'm pursuing my own less traditional path anyways, because there's a ton of reasons why I'm doing that. And then the last thing is I've been reminding myself why I felt burnt out in my last job in the first place and how things are different now. Now, this one's pretty easy because I can actually just go watch some old YouTube videos to give myself a good reminder of why I was burnt out. But the key here is realizing that I was burnt out because I was unaligned and unfulfilled in my previous job. And what I'm doing now feels much more aligned and makes me a lot more fulfilled in my daily life. If I can just remind myself of that, then the stress and the uncertainty of what I'm doing honestly feels pretty irrelevant. As long as we're able to pay our bills and make things work, it's totally going to be okay. I would much rather stress a tiny bit about money while I'm trying to figure everything out than be stuck in a job that I hate that causes me health issues and a ton of other problems. All in all, I'm feeling so much better than I was just 6 months ago. Burnout does take a long time to heal. A lot of studies are showing that it can take up to 2 years, if not more. But the best way to prevent burnout and prevent this from ever happening in the first place is to make sure that you're feeling fulfilled in the job that you're doing and to make sure the job isn't overworking you and causing you too much stress. If you're at a point where you're debating to quit your job, but you're really not sure if you should take that big leap, then you should watch this video where I cover the final straw that led me to finally quit my 9 to 5 job after months of feeling severely burnt out and debating the decision. But that is all I have for you guys today in this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye.